you for your time, Dr. Sujata. 30 years ago, she used to be a popular actor. Her film name then was Sowmya. She made her debut in the Tamil film industry. After one Tamil film, she switched to Kerala to do three Malayalam films, which were hits at that time, very popular films. 30 years later, Dr. Sujata has mustered courage to share what she went through as a young actor then. She says she was used as a sex slave. But even now, after the release of the Hema Committee report in Kerala, she's not ready to share the names of her perpetrators. Any particular reason for that, doctor, particularly when many are coming out with names to seek or seeking justice now?
So I would like to share the names, but with the police, so that we can take the due course of action. I also want to be protected like many of the other survivors. It has taken us this long to get to a place where we feel safe to speak up. So I don't want to jump the gun and just openly make myself any kind of victim again because of public information. So I would prefer to go the safe route at this point.
Right. You began with the Tamil film. The director is the husband of an actor who made you a sex slave. That's what you had told in an interview earlier. Can you share what you went through then?
I was 18 and in my first year of college, from a very sheltered background. Professional parents, knew nothing about movies. This opportunity came through my college theater contact. I was enamored by actress Revati because she lived near my house at that point. So I was in a fantasy world. I was a child, didn't know much. So I went for the screen test with this couple, and they insisted that I do their film by telling my father that they had already used so much money, spent so much money. Even when I said I wasn't comfortable with the man, the first meeting I said that. So I felt obligated to do their movie. During the first whole schedule, outdoor schedule, this man did not speak to me. The agreement was that she would be the director. And on paper, she's the director of the movie, but he was directing the entire movie. And so I was under his control. And he gave me the angry, silent treatment like a lot of men are used to doing. And because of our conditioning in patriarchy about who authority figures are, particularly men who are very intimidating because they express anger so easily, I was very scared by this man. Gradually, and because I was such a good student, I've been an obedient child all my life. I did my job very well. He calmed down. Then the couple took me into their fold, told me I was like their daughter. Now, her daughter had at that point accused him of rape, this particular man, and left their house. But they told me she was lying. And so they brought me into the fold. I was a teenager who was rebellious at home, not listening because I was talking back and my parents were angry. And suddenly this couple were all very nice and bribing me with good food and milkshakes every day and telling me good things. So gradually that was the grooming process. He knew fully well what he was doing. I had never had any romantic connection with any boy before. I had been in a girls' school and I had just started in a co-ed college. And so for me, younger people, boys of my age, I could ward off any unwanted advances. This man, when his wife wasn't around one fine day, while calling me his daughter, one fine day, he made an advance. He kissed me, told me he loved me, and I completely froze. I've gone blank about that night. I couldn't tell anybody. I was so desperate to tell my friends, but I couldn't. I was ashamed. I thought something was wrong with what I had done, the way I had behaved. And I thought I was obligated to be nice to this man. And I didn't want to get out and make a big scene that would cause harm to my family. So I continued going for my practices, for my dance rehearsals, and they were teaching me how to speak the dialect and everything. So every day I went back, and gradually this man took it step by step by step, and he took advantage. He completely used my body to his advantage. He at some point also forced himself on me through intercourse when I pushed him away. So he raped me after a point. So this went on for several months, Sam, close to a year, while I was still a student in college. And I had this other life where he was torturing me, but on the other hand, telling me he wanted a child with me because his wife wouldn't have a child with him. He called me a daughter and said he wanted to have a child with me. He messed with my brain. And I think he really succeeded in messing with my brain, of course, my body.
I'm so sorry about this, Dr. Sujata. And the Nirbhaya case in India, more than a decade ago, shook the whole country, hearing the horror of the kind of violence she went through. You went through that kind of a horror 30 years ago.
Okay, so I do want to clarify this. When I say sex slave, okay, when somebody treats you like a complete object of their desire, right? You're not a human being anymore. And I'm sure he wanted a virgin, and he knew I was one. He had asked me about my whole history, how many boys and everything. He knew I had no such experience. So he knew exactly how he was starting. He initiated me into this world. So when I say sex slave, he used to literally make me give him blowjobs every day, whether I was sleeping or not. He started like that, right? He at one time he inserted a metal rod into me. This was a rod he kept in his house to attack any intruder, and he told me that he used to keep it under his pillow. He used it, but I don't want you to compare me with Nirbhaya because she died a horrific death. This man did it for his entertainment. I was a toy, and he used a metal toy on me, knowing fully well I wouldn't say no, sir, because I'm not used to saying no to any authority figure. I'm used to saying no to peers, but no man who is 40 years old almost, and I'm 18 years old. So I would sex slave as in I'm the puppet. You are free to do whatever you want, knowing fully well this puppet is not going to speak because she is isolated by him from everybody, her own family and her own friends and college activities. That's what happened.
Right. You had later shifted to the Malayalam film industry, did 3 films there which did very well. There, the situation was worse. Is that what you mean? And you had mentioned one of the co-stars who abused you has now been named in Kerala as part of the Hema committee report.
Okay, so in Kerala, I wasn't sexually exploited directly. It was more human rights violations, many kinds in Kerala. Okay, so there were a few incidents, but overall, so one was the clear message that in a hotel room where we were all staying, the actor, director, everybody, my first Malayalam movie, I was informed that the actors and directors would summon hairdressers and junior artists into their rooms at random times at night. That was a very scary thing. That's how I started there. Okay. It didn't happen to me just because my father would insist on accompanying me. Okay. Then during the final take, so during the rehearsal, everything would be looking different. Sometimes in the final take, they wouldn't let me know because I was totally new to the industry. So there was one instant in which the final take, we had practiced the whole fight sequence where I was being pulled and pushed by men. In the final take, the villain who had his mouth full of pan, you know what pan is? Beetle. He spat it on my face in that last minute, and I was so shocked, but that was the final take. I couldn't even recover. I didn't understand what happened to me, right? That was a violation. Then I remember telling my friend at that point that this co-star, the one you were talking about, he, during a shot, would, if there was a song sequence, he would pull me so tight and hug me uncomfortably. And I have told my friend I would keep my hand to push him away. Okay. Another instance, there is a song sequence in which, you know what a tulabharam is, where they weigh against in a temple. Okay.
Right.
So They made me sit on the Tulabharam, and these people who designed the sets, I believe, did not. I think they deliberately left something out, and I fell in front of that entire crowd. It fell, right? I'm sitting on it. I fell, and the assistant directors, I could see a smirk on their faces. It was beyond shameful and embarrassing, but I think they had a good time at my expense. And the thought I had was, if my co-star Jairam had been sitting and that thing had broken, would they have gotten away with that kind of? They would have been given hell. But me, I just got up quietly, they tied it again or whatever, and I continued the shot. It is there in that song. These kinds of violations, I was too young, too inexperienced, too powerful to face regularly, even though I enjoyed doing movies. I enjoyed being in front of the camera. So I decided to stop acting and continue my studies.
Just to clarify, so there was no sexual exploitation or violation during your acting in Malayalam films?
If you don't call grabbing a woman and hugging her, if that's not a sexual or exploitation or violation, then yes, there wasn't. But I believe there was. That was. And all of this is sexual in nature because of my sex, because of my gender. Everything happened because women are objects, have been objects. They would not do these things to men because they would be afraid of men. So it is all sexual in nature because I am of the females.
In Kerala, besides this particular co-star, who are the other perpetrators? Are they directors? Are they technicians?
Like I told you, right? It's usually a whole team. There was a situation in which I was I was told to wear an off-shoulder mundu in a scene, and my family was extremely uncomfortable. I was extremely uncomfortable. When I had agreed for this movie, I had been told by this lady who was my mentor, one of the couple, or the wife of the couple was my mentor. She had told me, we will figure it out. We'll just cover you up with your hair. It's nothing important, just one short scene. Finally, when it came to the shot, and when I told the director, my father is not happy with this and I'm uncomfortable being off shoulder on camera, can we cover up? Can we put my hair? He said, don't worry, get into the water. I will tell the cameraman to cut it from your neck. And he loudly told the cameraman in front of me, only till here. I didn't know camera angles. I went into the water, listened to what they said. They said, pull your head out. I did that. And then finally, when I watched the screening, because I don't get to see anything during the making of the film, because it was back then in 90. After everything, I see the screening, my entire shoulder is on the full screen for my family to see. That was humiliating because I trusted this man. So if this is not sexual violence, then what is it, Sam?
Right.
Okay.
You said you were groomed at that point in time. At any point during these exploitations, was there an element of consent at all?
I'm loving this question. So I want to say, importantly, for all the women watching, and also men, grooming starts from home. And how it's not always sexual in nature. Grooming is in how children are taught about their bodies, how they are not taught about their bodies, how they're taught to never listen to their bodies. Because when I first met this man, I had high fever. I was so uncomfortable with this man. Now, if my parents had understood what that meant when I said no, that it meant no, but they were in a different generation. And we still have parents who tell their kids, listen to uncle and auntie. Don't say no. Smile at uncle and auntie. I was raised like that. Okay. Right. So if you are raised to be social puppets, then grooming starts from home. Then any authority figure, we live in a patriarchal system all over the world. India is heavily into patriarchy. You go out to school, your male teachers are more highly regarded than the female teachers. You go to work, your male boss is more important than the female boss. So everywhere you're groomed, Sam, right? So your question was, sorry, I forgot your question. Was it about grooming?
Was there any consent under pressure?
So consent. So here's what happens. This is a very important issue. When somebody starts touching you, and this is for all young people, when somebody starts touching you, your brain freezes. Because, like I said, this is an authority figure that you've trusted, you think they're a good person. And you are not. In the movies, they have taught you that rape is conducted by bad men. Okay? This is not a bad man. Sometimes it's your family. Okay? Now, when that person touches you, no matter, so even with children, the body responds. The body's nerves will respond. Your brain has frozen that you cannot consent, or you don't say anything. The body responds, and this person, the perpetrator, will take that because it's convenient. He knows fully well what he's doing, but he can take it as consent. So can we start redefining what consent is? In that moment, can a child say, no, don't touch me? It is not as easy in that moment. It's not even easy for decades after that, Sam. What is consent? For 20 years, if I believe I am the problem, I live in shame, I shouldn't have done it, I had an affair with a married man, I had a relationship with a married man, this is what I believed. So where is the question of consent? How are you going to give consent to a man who controls you and treats you as his puppet?
Share with us the long healing process. It has taken 30 years for you to muster courage to share your story now. Tell us about the healing process.
Okay. So my healing process really went into full force when I joined the PhD program in Human Development and Family Science, specialization in relationships and families therapy. Through my program, I understood the difference between consent, coercion, rape, all the definitions. We talked about these things. So I understood that. And that process of going through the program, understanding human development, helped me understand how my family could have been different, how our society could have been different in helping a person like me in that process. And it took away a little bit of the shame. At that point, I started acknowledging that I had been abused, and it wasn't that I was the problem. Okay. Then it took me another 10 years to finally say the word that I was raped. Right. Till then, I didn't even acknowledge that that man had raped me because I thought I had consented because he made it. Are you there?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Because the way he put it, that particular instance of when he had intercourse with me was, we were doing a marriage shot for the movie. He was supposed to tie a tali for me. And he told me, this will be our marriage.
Right.
I am like a 12-year-old in my head. So I thought I had consented to forced sex, but it still wasn't rape in my head. So I acknowledged that 30 years from then. Then I went through body healing, energy healing, where all that bad energy stuck in my body and the trauma stuck in my body was able to find a release through a lot of sessions, lot of crying, through safe and trusted resources at this stage in my life.
The Kerala government, Dr. Sujata, has now constituted a special investigation team, and the police there are encouraging all those survivors to come forward to give formal complaints. Do you contemplate giving a complaint, and are you in the process of, say, building a set of strong evidence, even if it's circumstantial evidence, to prove your case?
I don't have such a plan. I will talk to the police and I'll give them what they need. I will allow them to take it the way they need to. I'm not interested in making a big story out of this, but it is important that the word goes out to everybody that this is not a matter of consent, that this is a matter of patriarchy. That for me is the bigger message here, but I will cooperate with the legal authorities.
What will be a message to those women who tell you that you should now name them?
I will be naming them to the police. I am happy to name them because when somebody maliciously and intentionally uses another human being for their personal entertainment with no value for how it impacts that human being's life and marriage and parenting and professional life for the next decades, then those people need to be held accountable and punished. So that's why I am going to be naming them.
Do you think you'll be able to get justice?
Sam, apparently, from what I'm hearing about the HEMA Commission report, even if it was delayed, apparently there is hope now that things are changing, that people are not just giving lip service like they did in America and in India after Me Too, original Me Too movement. Everybody went back to their jobs, and all the men that were perpetrators. So I'm hoping for real change, and I will speak as much as I can so that we can create a community of change.
And these perpetrators are still alive and active?
Yes, as far as I know. I'm not in contact with them.
Have they ever approached you, apologized to you at any point in time?
Oh, never. I don't even think they did anything wrong. When it becomes a way of life, people don't step back and understand.
Last two questions. Is the fear of lack of proof discouraging many to name people, including you?
I think fear of not lack of proof, because I don't need proof, right? Whether anybody believes me or not, I know my truth. Yes, I cannot take pictures because I didn't even have phones at that point. I couldn't have texted a friend and now today brought up that text. We had no email. We had nothing back in the early 80s, late 80s and early 90s. So it's not lack of proof. It is the fact that our society is created such that they will blame the victim, 100%. They've always blamed the victim. So what power does a victim have against such big sources? These people have such power. So that is the fear, that people won't do anything. Or even if they listen in the moment, are they going to do anything about it, or are they going to minimize it again and again and again? Then why am I exposing myself to the public through such a hard situation in my life? What do I, So unless something comes out of it, I have wasted my precious energy and time.
Any message you would like to share for those who have gone through this or who may be still going through this?
I do want to say, hopefully you'll understand that you're not alone. I was very alone through this process. I did handle all of it on my own. Only God took me through all of this. But you will not be alone. There are enough people, there's enough exposure now. So seek the help with trusted resources. Talk to somebody if you've experienced this. And please understand, it is not your fault that you were victimized. It is the fault of the larger society and the messages we've received through movies and media growing up. I'm not blaming the media, but we need to change how media teaches children about life, relationships, and our bodies. So that's the message I want to pass on.
Dr. Sujata, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your heart-wrenching story, and more strength to you. May you be a source of strength and inspiration for many more, and wish you all strength in your pursuit for justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam.